much. First of all, I want to thank you for the second time giving me the opportunity to come to speak to here in the French Channel. As it was mentioned, I'm a Baluch and I represent Balochistan People's Party. And in our party also we are inspired by the French Revolution. And we have put sovereignty, that is the people's sovereignty, in our party's constitution. It's because we know that Iran, we went from the Shah to the Khomeini, has the same problem that people here in French had, and that's why there was a revolution in Iran. Still, I think Iranian revolution has to continue to achieve its aims. I think I have a map here somewhere, because I was told also to tell something about Balochistan history, and least I will try to manage it in 2-3 minutes. As you can see, Balochistan in 1829, and before that one it was a country, and since early days of Alexander came to that region, or Cyrus has come to this region almost all the time has been the same geopolitical region, and everybody has named it from Mecca to the Makran, to the Gadrosia, or to the Karat, to the Balochistan. It has been the same geopolitical geography. And this always we Baluchs think that this is our homeland, and this is where we think we belong, and this is where we think our sovereignty lies. After that, it actually was, again in the 18th century, the British came and they occupied Balochistan. Of course, I had a PowerPoint here, but since it was not able to do that one, so I just want to speak. And then then Balochistan was occupied, and later it was divided between Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan as British left. British aim at that time was because of this trade deal with Russia. They wanted to make sure that Balochistan is not gone to the hand of the Russia or like to the Soviet Union at the same time because of the sea and because of the Indian Ocean. So they divided Balochistan before they left. And actually, the one that divided Balochistan, the line is called the Goldsmith line between the Iranian side of Balochistan and Pakistani side of Balochistan. He wrote his memoir that we gave that part of Balochistan to Iran since Iran was losing land against Russia at the time, to support it against Russia and make it a strong buffer between the British India and the British Empire and the Russian Empire. But anyway, I come back to the current situation, the modern situation of Iran. During the Pahlavi, as was mentioned here, Iran is very much, Iranian state mentality is very much Persian dominated and it's very much Shia dominated. When the Pahlavi came to power, the king of Iran, Muhammad Reza Shah, said Iran is a Persian country. And it's inherits the Persian heritage. Anybody living in this country is a Persian. And that was, at that time, I'm sure not more than 30% of Iranian people could not identify themselves as a Fars, as a Persian. Since even in 2010, the Iranian education minister said 70% of the students that start the school in Iran does not have Persian as their mother language. So after 70 years of the assimilation, the Iranian regime did not manage to even change the Iranian population 50-50 to Persian and non-Persian. And then, of course, the revolution happened, and during the Shahs, when it's come to Balochistan, the Iranian government, Khalaf Bari, at the time of the Iranian foreign minister, he was the equivalent of the Zarif, even the Iranian queen who lives in Paris, I think, when people were talking about Zarif, how good diplomat he is, she wrote an article and mentioning that Abbas Khalaf Bari was also a great diplomat like Zarif. He managed to do the Iranian work internationally. But Khalaf Bari said that we know the Baluch one day will get their independence. So meantime, we have to keep them weak, disunited, and economically very backward. And this is what the Iranian policy was. Actually, another writer also wrote that both Iran and Pakistan inherited the British kind of policy in Balochistan to keep Balochistan backward. The same thing was also mentioned by the Iranian minister or Prime Minister Hoeda, who said that Balochistan Baluch people happen to live in a very geopolitical place in our country. Why we should give them any kind of support, and why we should change, and why we invest them? Why should we not just migrate into somewhere else? But he said, well, this part of the country is not viable for us. But it was only geopolitical, and I was a children, and I saw that many companies from both French and American and British company were working in Chabahar just to make sure that Chabahar was developed as the largest port and largest Navy base and airport at that time during the late years of the Shah. But currently also, during the Rouhani's regime also said that, well, Balochistan can accommodate more people, and instead of they said this cannot accommodate more people. We have to bring more people to Balochistan, partially to the coastal region, and is a plan to change the demography of Balochistan. And since the Islamic Republic of Iran, Iranian government, as was mentioned, it has created many constraints to discriminate against the people. The first of all is to say that, well, are you a man or a woman? According to Iranian constitution, woman is given half right of the man or not at all in the right. Woman cannot be a supreme leader, cannot be president. As a Baloch or a Kurd or any Sunni in Iran or anybody that is not Shia could not be the supreme leader or the president in Iran at the same time. And also the Iranian language is Persian language, which has been very much emphasized on that language, and other languages discriminated. And it's not enough again. The Iranian government has put another thing as a guzinish, which is selection procedure, which makes sure that certain people come to education and certain people do not come to education also. And if you get the education, some education, I mean, as a Baloch, you cannot get those education because they are in the government security or important places, or you have the high ranking, or they consider them very important, you cannot get those kinds of education. And if you get education, there is another selection procedure also to get the job also. And there also you are discriminated. So there are many hurdles that are put in place that the people cannot get the right they want. And again, another thing that we see in Balochistan is the physical insecurity of the Baloch people in Iran. There are daily execution, daily extrajudicial killings, and I'm very sad, and it's not good to mention all the time, but even 2 years babies are not safe in Iran as Baloch. Only in this 2018, two babies which are 2 years old have been killed by the Iranian government in a car driving. Because the Iranian government, whenever they see a car or Baloch or somewhere they're just doing that, they shoot indiscriminately. And one of the Iranian revolution guard leaders said, we have not come to Balochistan to arrest people, we have come here to kill them. And just this week, Khamenei's representative in the Revolutionary Guard said, because there was an incident, an attack to the Revolutionary Guard in Balochistan, and then he said, for each person that has been killed, we are going to kill 10 people. And that's not lying, they do that one. Whenever there is a clash, or there is a demonstration, or there is a protest, or just whenever they end. Once there was an attack to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, at the same night, I think the attack happened sometime in the evening at 7 o'clock in the evening. And at the same evening, during the night and the morning, the next day, they took 16 Baloch prisoners from the prison, which have been in prison for about 10 years, some of them 5 years, some of them 15 years, and they killed them in a revenge killing. And that's the mentality that the Iranian government has. It's still kind of imperial mentality. It is still kind of tribal mentality, which is very much indoctrinated in a kind of situation where it's see killing and execution and suppression mean to keep this government. And that's what they are very much clever, and sometimes they try to tell the world that they are pragmatic, they are trying to stabilize the region, but the region never has been stabilized. Neither Iran nor region has been stabilized simply because of the Iranian policies in the region, be it from Iraq to the Yemen, to the Lebanon, and to the Syria. We can see the Iranian government cannot be content in Iran itself, because the ideological government wants to dominate inside Iran, and it wants to dominate in the region also. That's why we think that's time, and as was mentioned here before, the Iranian opposition will come together and build an alliance to make sure that we have a group which can accommodate most of the right. Most of the right, not all of the right. You cannot give everybody happy at the first moment, but you have to give formal right to everybody. Equal right to the woman, equal right to the nationalities, equal right and freedom to the religious party, and freedom of speech, based on in Iran, which could be a secular, federal, and democratic government. And that, I think, would be very much appreciated by the Iranian people, by the region, and by the international community. And in this, we think all of the world has a common cause and common kind of interest. And we can see French government was involved, and the American government, and British and Germany, to make sure that Iran will not get nuclear weapons. So that means that you have a stake in that region, as we have the stake in that region. So that's why I think the things about Iran is that to help to build this alliance and to make sure that if anybody talks with Iranian nationalists, especially the opposition groups, to make sure that they understand also Iran was a national country and it has to accept itself as it is. It cannot build an image based on an image that they think they like it and they think everybody has to adopt it. As they have shown it, as recent happened in Balochistan, it's very bad to kill people, as this is happening. And this not has been stopped since the Iranian government has come to Balochistan. They have killed Baloch and Baloch has reacted to kill the Revolutionary Guard or security forces. This war will never stop until they stop discrimination and killing and using any kind of excuse to discriminate against the people. Because you cannot ask the people, well, let them kill, but you cannot answer. Let them to arrest you in prison you, but you cannot say, oh, I am pain. Let them just to do that thing. These things are not acceptable in any war. I was once in the Swedish forum, they said, well, we do not accept people that maybe use weapon and this kind of. I said, well, we do not use weapon and we are against that one. I'm committed because I'm also working with internationally as a representative and represent the nation and people who we have totally committed 100% to non-violence in any circumstances. But I told them, well, if you just abolish your own parliament, on your military and your own police, then you can say to other people, do not use that one. Because if you are living in Middle East, you have the Daesh, you have the Revolutionary Guard, you have everybody else there, and how you can say to people you have to stop that one? It will only stop when we have a democratic liberal country. War between the British and French, war between the French and Germany never stopped until you got liberal democratic countries here. And that's, we have to be courageous and tell the Iranian, anybody we meet, from the nationalists, from the Reza Pahlavi to Jawad Zarif. The way to go is a liberal democratic country based on accepting all the differences in that country, be it religious, be it nationality and geographical. And again, thank you very much.